My Love Story with the City of Joy by Dominique Lapiere. That very first monsoon morning I walked into it, I knew that this wretched, inhuman slum of Calcutta, called the City of Joy, was one of the most extraordinary places on our planet. When I left it 2 years later with some 20 pads full of notes and hundreds of hours of tape, I knew I had the material for the greatest book of my career, an epic of heroism, love, and faith, a glorious tribute to the human capacity to beat adversity and survive every possible tragedy. During this long, difficult, and sometimes painful research, I had to share in all sorts of situations. I learned how people could live with rats, scorpions, and insects, survive on a few spoons of rice and one or two bananas a day, queue up for hours for the latrines, wash with less than a pint of water, light a match in the monsoon, share their living quarters with a group of eunuchs. Before being adopted by the inhabitants of the slum, I had to learn their customs, experience their fears and plight, share their struggles and hopes. This certainly was one of the most extraordinary experiences that a writer could live. It changed my life. Living with the heroic inhabitants of the City of Joy completely transformed my sense of priorities and my assessment of the true values of life. After this confrontation with the real issues of existence, hunger, disease, total absence of medical facilities, lack of work, I no longer fight for a thing like a parking place when I return to Europe or America. Sharing for all these months the lives of a population who might have as little as the equivalent of 25 cents per day with which to survive also taught me the real value of things. Now I instinctively turn the electricity off when I leave a room, use my bar of soap to the very end, avoid throwing into the garbage can what can be saved or used again. These unique experiences also taught me the beauty of sharing with others. For 2 years, nothing was asked of me, but always given. The generosity of my friends in the City of Joy showed me the true meaning of the beautiful Indian proverb that says, "All that is not given is lost." It took me one full year to write the Epic of City of Joy. I wrote the book in my home in the south of France, in the beautiful and privileged privacy of Provence's pine woods and vineyards, to remind me constantly of the ant hill of Calcutta, its noises, its smells, its colors, every day before I began writing. I first looked at a few of the 2,000 photographs I had taken and ran some of the tapes of local life I had recorded. The final version of The City of Joy was first published in France, then in Spain, Italy, Holland, Germany, England, and the United States. Everywhere the success was immediate, enormous, and for me totally unexpected in its dimension. The book has now sold more than 6 million copies in 31 languages and editions, including 5 editions in Braille. Although I was convinced I had written a most inspiring epic, I was truly surprised by the degree of its success. But even more surprising was the mail that began to pour into my Paris apartment. Thousands of readers from all over the world began to send me letters, everyone an homage of gratitude for having written The City of Joy. Many of them really touched me to the bottom of my heart and even drew tears from my wife and I. In almost every one of the envelopes was a check, sometimes a small package with a piece of jewelry, a gold ingot, or a stack of stock exchange shares. One letter contained a short anonymous message saying, "The book The City of Joy is so beautiful that we are happy to send the enclosed items. Please sell them. They will be more useful in the City of Joy then around our fingers. Taped to the sheet of paper were two wedding rings. One day, as I was leaving my apartment to rush to Charles de Gaulle Airport to fly to New York, the doorbell rang. Behind the door was an old woman with a travel bag. "I have just arrived by train from Toulouse," she said. "I have come here to write my will in favor of your heroes of the City of Joy." The story of these heroes has touched so many hearts that school children have organized collections in the classes and produced plays and shows on their behalf. Hundreds of readers have offered to adopt a child from the City of Joy or to devote their next vacation to going there to help. On my side, I have offered half of my royalties to the heroes of my book or to humanitarian institutions in Calcutta and its vicinity struggling to improve the life of the poorest of the poor. Since the book was first published in 1985, almost $2 million have been sent from my royalties and from donations of readers to create, support, and develop a whole series of top priority projects. These projects include refugee centers for leper and polio children, dispensaries, schools, rehabilitation workshops, education programs, sanitary actions, and so forth. To process and channel the funds, I have founded an association called Action Aid for Lepers Children of Calcutta, which now has several thousand members. I am fanatically attentive that every cent given from my royalties or from readers goes directly to the poor who need help. Those who assist my wife, who is also named Dominique, and I are all volunteers. Among them are her 5 sisters, a couple of women from our local parish, and a retired general manager. We are using one room of our Paris apartment as the association headquarters, and we personally pay for the electricity and telephone. We have no overhead cost. I have organized our fund transfers to India in such a way as to make sure every dollar we send is going to the right person for the right purpose. This is very important and sometimes quite difficult to achieve. But because we are a small organization and we want to remain small for these obvious reasons, we can trace every one of our payments to a precise action on the field. If we have succeeded so well in meeting this objective, we owe it largely to the exceptional people working in the local Indian institutions we support. All of them are true unknown Mother Teresas. They are the most humble, dedicated, and efficient apostles of love and solidarity I have ever met. May I pay tribute to Agnes, Ali, Francois, Gaston, James, Kamruddin, Sabitri, Sunil, Wahab, and all their associates. They are the arms, the legs, and the spirit of our modest action on the battlefront against poverty. Among the many other projects that I hope the royalties of the City of Joy and the donations of new readers will be able to finance in the future, one is particularly dear to my heart. This project concerns an irrigation program affecting 19 villages of Bengal where more than 100,000 people live. Thanks to this effort, they will become, for the first time, 2 meals a day people. Their land, which yields one harvest, or in case of drought, no harvest at all, will yield 2 and even 3 crops. This is attacking poverty at its roots. People will no longer have to leave their parched fields in case of climatic catastrophe to pile up in slums like the City of Joy. And perhaps one day, if projects of this sort multiply, the inhabitants of the City of Joy will be able to leave their inferno to return to the beauty of their countryside. I promise that the donations received as well as my royalties will continue working relentlessly toward meeting that wonderful goal. One afternoon in December 1987, the mayor of the city of Calcutta, Mr. K. Basu, and his whole municipal council offered my wife and I a splendid reception at the city hall to express Calcutta's gratitude for the way I had told the world about the virtues of courage, vitality, and hope of its population. At this occasion, we were made citizens of honor of the metropolis and were decorated with its gold medal of honor. But the most surprising and significant award I was to receive on that memorable day was an impressive document showing the impact my book had had on the administrators of the city. It was the plan for a development project of the municipal corporation called Calcutta City of Joy Designs for Tomorrow. Among the very first actions that this document outlined to change life conditions in the city and make it a real city of joy was the daily distribution to the slums 3 million residents of 10 liters of drinking water each. The City of Joy becomes a film. Late in 1985, the great British director Rolla Joff and the Canadian producer Jake Evers came to see me in Paris to express their interest in bringing my book to the screen. Joff had directed two of my favorite films, The Killing Fields and The Mission, and Evers had been involved in the production of Gandhi, a magnificent cinematic tribute to the father of modern India, inspired among other sources by the book I had co-authored with Larry Collins about the struggle of India for its independence, Freedom at Midnight. Joff was exactly the man to give epic dimension to the story I had put together with words. He assigned the writing of the script to Mark Medoff, the brilliant and compassionate author of Children of a Lesser God. One evening in October 1989, as I was lying in a hospital bed in Toulouse, recovering from an operation that was to cure me of cancer, I received a phone call from Calcutta. Joff wanted to know if I would be upset if they changed Kowalski, the police priest in the book, into a woman in order to avoid an all-male cast. I agreed instantly. For me, what counted was that the film translate the spirit of the book to the screen, not the sex of the characters. The shooting of the City of Joy began on February 9, 1991, exactly where the story takes place, in the heart of Calcutta. Patrick Swayze, the American star of Dirty Dancing and Ghost, is the American Dr. Max Loeb of the book. Two of India's greatest actors, Om Puri and Savana Azmi, personify Hasari Paul, the rickshaw puller, and his wife Kamala. A $2 million replica of the slum was built to serve as a movie set near Calcutta's harbor. But many scenes were shot in the streets, causing some inconvenience to the population, soon to be exploited by a handful of politicians and professional agitators more eager to have their names printed in the newspaper than to improve their fellow citizens' living conditions. Copies of the script found their way to scandal magazines which hastened to publish the scenes involving lepers of mafia activities in order to fuel a controversy that India was being exploited by Hollywood. Filming was interrupted on several occasions and makeshift bombs thrown on the set. Printed film reels were held up for days in the torrid and humid warehouses of Indian Customs. Co-producer Ian Smith had to appear in court every other day for some reason or other. But Joff, his actors, and his crew proved stronger than all adversities. Inspired themselves by the courage and resilience of the characters they were portraying, they managed to overcome all obstacles. Their film is a triumphant and unforgettable homage to the human spirit. For me, it is a superb on-screen translation of the epic I had written. In March 1991, as Rolla Joff was filming The City of Joy in Calcutta, I was invited with my wife to a small ceremony organized by a group of its residents in the slum where it all began. As we walked into the area, I was surprised to discover a huge banner hanging across one of its main alleys. Dominique, Lapiere, welcome home, the City of Joy. From the waiting crowd ran a young girl with a bouquet of flowers. I recognized my old friend Padmini, the heroic little Bengali girl who used to get up every morning at 4 to go on the railway embankment to pick up burning pieces of coal that had fallen from the locomotives, a miserable treasure, the sale of which helped her family survive day after day. Padmini was beaming. Take these flowers, Dominique Dada, big brother, she said. Because thanks to you, we are no longer alone in our city of joy. My experiences in the city of joy certainly changed my perspectives as a writer. I learned there that the heroes of my future books would be those who, like Kowalski, Hasaripal, Max Leo, or Mother Teresa, prove every day that if adversity is big, as the Indian poet Tagore once wrote, man can be bigger than adversity. Thank you.